Hi, my name is Zanete, and if it's the first time you're hearing from me, then I'm the knitwear designer behind Zanete Knits. And I'm so thrilled to have your attention because today I'm going to do a deep dive on a pattern that's an upcoming knitting pattern for a pair of socks. And they are called the Vaidava memory socks, and they are actually the sixth pattern in the design series of places that me and my friends have visited and got some yarn and decided to do a pair of matching socks, and I'm always getting to design them, so that's a huge privilege. In this video I'll cover the inspiration, the gauge and yarn and needles, techniques used and construction and the sizing and all sorts of other things that are useful to know about this pattern. The inspiration comes from our little knitting retreat that we had this summer in a town called Vaidava, and there were 10 of us there, so it was very intimate and it's quite secluded and in the middle of the forest, so it was very serene and very relaxing. So I hope that this design exudes the same vibe, but it features an intricate and delicate cable pattern that I'm trying to reflect the amazing relationships that we cherished and built over the long weekend that we had. That's where the inspiration comes from, and I'm going to move on to the yarn and gauge and needles that I used. So the gauge is quite tight, so as it is for socks, and we're using a traditional sock yarn, and the gauge is 32 stitches and 40 rows in a 10 centimeter or 4-inch square. When knitted in the round, most of it is stockinette, so that's the stitch pattern for the gauge. For me to obtain that gauge, I needed to use 2.25 millimeter, that is US 1 needle size, and I use DPNs, but the pattern also supports working in the magic loop technique with circulars or tiny little circulars, whatever needles you prefer. The most important that the gauge matches. The pattern comes in 3 sizes. The size is determined by the foot circumference, from 17.5 centimeters to 22.5 centimeters, that is 7 to 9 inches, and it's quite infinitely adjustable lengthwise. So the foot of the sock can be adjusted and the leg of the sock can be easily adjusted. So as long as you match the circumference and stitch gauge, you should be good. So row gauge isn't that crucial in this pattern. Note that both socks are different, and it's quite important to notice that the cable panel is placed on the outer part of the leg. So that means you're making one left and one right sock, and that is something that you have to pay attention to. You have to be a little bit careful to follow the instructions for the right or the left sock. That isn't too hard because the cabling is only at the top of the leg, and once you're done with the cable chart, it's all smooth sailing. These are actually the first cuff down sock in this series. Usually the socks start at the toe for me, but I thought I should mix it up, and here you can see they start with a very nice cast on, and that's a tubular cast on. And in this pattern, because the ribbing is 1x1 twisted ribbing, I'm choosing to use a twisted method for this cast on. It's nothing too complicated. It's just after you cast on, when you do the first foundation round, you have to make sure that you do, or the second round, I'm not sure which one it is, but in the pattern it explains that you always have to knit through the back loop, so that also the cast on it results in twisted stitches, creating this really nice decorative and stretchy, most importantly stretchy edge. And then we go into twisted ribbing, and that ribbing then translates into these twisted cables. And the chart will show you that you need some increases because cable stitches usually shrink and make the gauge a bit smaller. when compared to stockinette. So there will be some increases, but then as you work through the chart, you'll be making respective decreases until you're back to your starting stitch count for the rest of the leg. One important tip is that your needle should be quite sharp because the gauge is quite fine, and the cabling is hopefully done without a cable needle because it's only 1x1 cables, and it's probably too finicky to bother with the cable needle. But if that gives you comfort and security, then by all means you can use cable needle. But I think you'll find it that it's easier if you just use a pair of sharp needles. Then you can do the 1x1 cables without a cable needle. Once we've done the chart, we get to a little bit of some stockinette section until we start the heel flap. And the heel flap is working back and forth in a reinforced slip stitch pattern. And once we get to the desired height, we then turn the heel and continue working it back and forth to create the bottom of this heel and decrease the sides of the flap, turning it into a very nice Dutch heel that fits really nicely and is also reinforced. The bottom of the heel has this reinforced stitch as well, which makes it more durable. And then there's a tiny little gusset on the sole that is actually a continuation of the tradition of this sock series, because all of the other socks also feature a sole gusset. That means the decreases are not on the sides of the sock as might traditionally be for a Dutch heel sock, but they are placed at the bottom, in the middle of the sole, and create this V. And then we just knit straight down to where we need to start the toe. And in this case, it's a round toe where we do decreases every few rounds throughout the sock until we finally end up with 8 stitches remaining, and we just thread the yarn through those live stitches and pull it to secure and leave in the end. So there's no Kitchener stitch or any other grafting technique required to finish this sock. And all in all, that's it. The pattern's coming out officially tomorrow. All subscribers will receive a special discount code. If you're not a subscriber, and if you hurry up, head to a link down in the description. I hope you like these socks, and if you make them and share your progress or photos on social media, don't forget to tag them with the tag that's in the pattern so that all of us can see and get inspired. Until next time.